Intertextual Cardboard Experience.
Hello and welcome to Intertextual Cardboard Experience. Today we have another really special guest. We have archaeologist and game designer of the 2021 Kennerspiel de Jahres winning game Paleo, Peter Rustemeyer. And I know I mispronounced that, but how are you doing today, Peter?
I'm doing great. Thank you. And thanks for having me here.
Yeah, no, this is something that I kind of wanted to do for a while. Obviously, all these ideas are, but the game Paleo is an extremely interesting one, and we'll get to the game in a little bit. I just kind of want to talk about you though, and something that's different for me before we get into it too is, this is the first time for the channel or the podcast that I'm interviewing somebody outside of the United States. So it's morning for me, and it's afternoon for you. And this is just like my first Zoom call in general that's outside of the US. So that's kind of fun as well. But yeah, nonetheless, I was wondering if we could just kind of start off talking about you and when in your life did you know that you wanted to be an archaeologist?
It just sort of happened. Like I was at the university and I was studying math, uh, but I didn't really feel it. Like I tried, uh, I tried to work in some of the jobs that you do when you finish math. I was working at a bank, at an insurance company, and I really wasn't feeling it. So and then a friend of mine said, "Hey, why don't you work in archaeology? That's cool. You find old stuff. You're outside. It's funny." I tried it, and I just never left. So I didn't really study it at university. I'm sort of like entered from the side, is what we say in German.
No, that's awesome. That's I think that experience is something that people go through. You go study something, it's not for you, and you just try something else. You find something that you're passionate about, and archaeology was it for you. With
Yeah.
that said, do you, with a little bit of that math background, so two things I don't know much about, archaeology and math. Do you ever find any sort of overlap in your research or any of the projects you're working at that like zoom in on math from civilizations or history or anything like that?
Uh, there's barely any connection. I can sometimes use my math skills in archaeology, but it's really basic level math, like Pythagoras to track an angle, simple calculations if we want to understand how much soil we removed. And my colleagues are not able to do these simple calculations. So it's always me who has to do them because they are all afraid of math. But in my excavations, I haven't encountered any relics of math of the past like that. They never dug up a school or something like this.
All right, cool. I was just
Yeah.
curious. I mean, obviously, math is going to be something that different civilizations have. Maybe you'll find that relic someday, and it'll bring you full circle.
Would be funny, yes.
Okay, but you did mention in that response excavations. So let's kind of talk about the day-to-day. So what is, a typical day's work for you, and or kind of the trajectory of a project that you're working on? So I know nothing. Say as
Okay.
much as you want.
So usually in our area where I live, there have been people for like 10,000 years and cities from like 2,000 years when the Romans arrived. So lots of ground is kind of polluted with archaeology. And if you want to build a house and want to have a cellar beneath it, then you have to make sure that you don't touch archaeology. Someone will contact you and say, no, you cannot just build a cellar there. Sorry, that's a dangerous place there. Then an archaeologist has to come and stand next to the excavator. Or if we know for sure that there will be something, then we come ahead of time and do it for you. This is a service that's not really a service because you have to pay for it. That differs in different regions in Germany. Sometimes the state pays it, but where I live, you have to pay for it. So we have lots of projects that are just someone wants to build a house, and there was a medieval house 100 meters away. I just stand there, look what they are excavating there. And if there's nothing, I just leave and they can do whatever they want. Sometimes, like where I am now, we know 100% there is something, and we are there like a year ahead and remove big Roman remains so they can build a structure over it. And then it looks like you imagine an excavation to look like. We have the big excavators, we have teams of people working with their brushes and shovels and whatever. We do drawings, descriptions, photos. We make maps of the finds. Yeah, we're just getting, we're kind of getting just rid of, we destroy all the archaeology. So it's destroyed in the best way possible. That's kind of my job. Sometimes we joke that we are selling expensive holes. It would of course be much faster if you just look away and excavate blindly.
That's super interesting. So, because you mentioned that it's a necessity for people to get your services or other archaeologist services before building. Do you know how prevalent that is worldwide? How many other countries are you kind of aware of that have those types of? It seems very sensible. It seems like making sure that people aren't destroying things of the past or are messing with that history makes a lot of sense, but I just don't know if you know like how prevalent that is kind of worldwide.
I know from surrounding countries, some have laws like these, others don't. Like Belgium, right next to us, they have no laws for this. You can just dig it all away. Or if they know it's there, then they just don't let you build there and it stays in the ground. But they don't have this economy of archaeologists that are included in the building process. And in Germany, we have straight up laws for it. We said that old stuff is it's important enough that we want to have it documented, so we just do it. But really, every country is different there, and even in Germany, they are different.
Okay, that's really great. So it sounds like a lot of your work that you do is in Germany. Have any of your projects like taken you anywhere, like in terms of like a lot of travel? Are there any experiences like that stick out to you?
Unfortunately, not so much because nobody pays me for this. Like I could maybe participate in a dig in Egypt, but I would have to pay it. It would not be my job, or it would be like for studies or for hobby or whatever. Whenever I'm somewhere in the world, I love to see archaeological sites. I visit them all the time, but I never participated. I just do my job here.
Okay, so observing and kind of like a little, not passion project because you're not partaking, but being at all these other locations and checking that out. Okay, kind of speaking of travel, and I don't want this question to seem kind of super weird, but it does tie to paleo a little bit later as well. When I'm checking out the interviews, so first off, I mentioned that this is the first time I'm talking to somebody, not in the United States, but it's also, I mean, you're the first person where I kind of have a singular experience or a singular connection, and that is your game Paleo, which again we're going to talk about later. I think it's fantastic, and that's why I reached out and I wanted to get to know you more as well. But I kind of want to have like this background information, and well, not sound stupid, but you live in Germany and you speak German and English. Are there any other languages that you speak?
I know a tiny bit French. I learned it 10 years in school, but it's all gone. I can order bread and I can say thank you. That's about it.
That's great. Yeah, I am. I have like the word jealous stuck in my mind of people that speak more than one language, but I know that I could just do some work and figure out more languages as well. But I think language study is just really fascinating, and kind of same deal with me. I did Spanish in high school and early university, but once I got enough credits, I was kind of done with it. So
You need to speak it or hear it all the time. So it's for us Germans, it's super easy with English because we have so much access to English media, and we have to learn it in school. So, but then it sticks. You learn it in school and it sticks because you hear English all the time. So yeah, it's kind of, we just get it for free. And
well,
I imagine learning German would be a horrible experience. We have so many strange words and grammar rules.
yeah, like I said, I'm not even sure if I can remember the name of this course, but one of like the courses that sticks out to me because I studied a lot of English. That was my area, my background area, and then all over the place: theater, creative writing, English education. And one of them was, the word is escaping me. It's too early in the morning over here, but I think it was a linguistics based class, and it wasn't the study of a lot of specific languages, but it was a study of, like you said, some of those grammatical patterns that other languages have. So it was kind of like a case study, and it was just one of the more interesting classes that I did take. So again, when I say that I'm jealous that you and other people can speak more than one language, that's just probably more work for me to do. But that's cool. And honestly, I wish I knew German. Maybe the experiences that these interviews, like the way they impact me, will inspire me to do more. So yeah, very cool. Okay, I've got just a couple more questions about like archaeology, and this one's a little layered. So to me, I think that archaeology is like one job, or one of a few jobs, that is almost the most singularly defined, and maybe kind of misrepresented by a film or film series, and by that I mean Indiana Jones. Can you think of another profession that's like marked so much by a particular text? Like any other job that when you think of that job, you think of this book or this movie or something like that?
The first thing that came to my mind was doctors, and like one of the many series, like Dr. House maybe. But otherwise, no, it's really Indiana Jones is is a love-hate thing for us. Of course, every archaeologist loves this movie, but it's just not archaeology what they are just depicting there. Not at all.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so yeah, that's kind of what I thought would have been the general consensus amongst archaeologists, is that it definitely is quite misrepresented, but or the number of people that are like, wow, I really want to get in archaeology because it's this. But I really hope nobody actually thinks that though. Like I feel as if
Like
you watch.
half did. Of the people I know working in archaeology, half started to study it because of Indiana Jones.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Um, Interesting, like note too. So I mean, honestly, I was familiar with the films uh, before I went to college, but the university I went to, as far as I know, was one of the few in the state that actually offered an archaeology program. And I kind of, it wasn't going to school for a period of time and then switching to a different like field of study, but I was going for one thing, and I found out that our university did have an archaeology program, but it seemed really, I don't know. There was like a lot of things that didn't like seem to match, but it intrigued me for a while, and it was not because of Indiana Jones, but it was just something that was in my mind, kind of like what you had. Somebody like talked about it and it seemed really interesting. So there's that. Okay. So I think kind of exhausted a lot of the thoughts for your job. A lot of like really interesting. Ooh, sorry, no, I lied. So where Indiana Jones misrepresents archaeology, are there any texts, so any sort of books, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, games, movies, those can either be, like a fictional movie or a documentary that you feel can really show people a good representation of what a modern archaeologist does or is?
I think one of the better representations is the beginning of The Exorcist.
Okay.
There you can see this must have been a real excavation where they filmed, because you can see where they had their sections, like the holes in the ground, and you see layers of stuff that is correctly marked, and you see people taking out stuff only from specific layers so that you can date it and don't lose information. It's like a 5-minute scene. There may be some movies about archaeologists I'm missing right now, but usually they all show stupid treasure hunts all around the globe, and that's like not what happens. Not at all.
All right, cool. Now I mean, even though it is fleeting, that does sound, it sounds like an interesting thing. How you said that they must have found like an actual archaeological excavation site for the first 5 minutes of that film. I saw that movie. It's been such a long time. I'm probably just going to watch it for the sake of the first handful of minutes, because my heart doesn't do well with any sort of like horror movies or anything like that. Well, that was a really good get. I will check that out. But okay, yeah, speaking of kind of representations and transitioning to games a little bit, and we chatted a minute before, and kind of not like a full break, but like a mini pause on being deep into the board gaming hobby right now. But how do you feel your work has affected the way that you view like historical games or any sort of game that implements a quote unquote theme, whether it's meant to be strongly implemented or more so loosely pasted on?
I'm I like it when you see that they did some research or did some try to show it like it was, or sometimes I know that they didn't, and I say, okay, that's kind of silly what you picture there. But I never thought you have to do it. It's always a bonus for me. And even in Paleo, we're not really doing science here. We show some Flintstones minus dinosaurs, more or less. I like my games to be thematic in a way that what you're doing in the game feels kind of like a transposition of the real thing. So if it has a mafia theme, I want it to be a cutthroat game and not some boring economy exercise. If I don't know, if it's a game set on a space planet where the trees are flying, I want to have a mechanic in the game that trees are really flying, or like something happens with resources that are moving by themselves or whatever. I hate it when they have a cool idea and waste it and do nothing with it. So, but I also play games that have like, our theme is a medieval city and you trade for glory. Okay, cool. I have no issues with this. That's honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's really neat.
Mm.
Okay, so I get to mispronounce something again, but I know that when you're designing your couple of games and more so in the hobby, and it looks like the last post on this was an FAQ for Paleo, but you had a little blog or WordPress titled Peter's Klein Spielwelt. Is that close?
That's pretty close.
Okay. Okay, so because again, I can't read German, so I clicked on it, obviously, and I did the nice Google Translate. But it looks like you, for quite a time, were pretty into reviewing games and just playing them and all of that, and again, has taken a little bit of a pause. But I guess, how did that experience to you help you with your designs? Do you feel like it was kind of a good exercise to explore different, themes and mechanics and find out what it was that you really liked in games while working on your own, or anything like that?
If you want to design a board game, you have to play lots of board games. There's no way around it. It's kind of like learning a language. You have to learn how these games are constructed, what works and what does not work. There's these little language things, like you can trade resources for X. This is like a little piece. Like sometimes they will make one wood and one stone will give you a house. Sometimes in my game it gives you a little spear. Both of this is just abstract, but it's language that players understand. And bits like this, you have to learn what they are, because you cannot, you have to use these basics. Otherwise, your game will not work. So you have to play a lot. You also have to play a lot to see what is already invented. So I sometimes showed games to publishers and they were like, yeah, cool, but it exists already. So, okay, maybe I play more games, maybe next time I know. And writing about games, I specifically always wrote about what I liked in this game, or what I think tried to do and did it accomplish it. And this kind of helped me sort my mind, and like put it in a deposit for later, so that I can check back again what was cool in this game, and maybe I can use something of it. But I stopped writing there because once you know the people, you really don't want to write about their games anymore. It's just strange when you meet them and you wrote that you didn't like part of their game or their whole game, or it's just unnecessary trouble for everyone involved. So I just quit this.
Yeah. Yeah, very cool. I mean, like, yeah, it seems like, yeah, kind of the tail end of that trajectory that you mentioned of running into more people, whether that's a particular designer or a publisher, and you want to be sincere and honest, and you're like, this game is not for me, and they're like, oh well,
Yeah.
but no, oh that's cool. Maybe again, maybe if it's whether or not you ever revisit it, maybe it could be like a design diary thing. Like I said, the last thing up on here is the FAQ,
Yeah.
but yeah, who knows? Maybe the site will live on in some capacity in the future too. But all right, cool.
I have the same thing on Board Game Geek, by the way, in English.
You have the same thing on Board Game Geek?
I have a little designer diary there.
Great. Yeah. I'll check that one out. But yeah, maybe that's good. Okay. Speaking of, like you said, you played. Obviously, to design you have to play. Were there any games for you that either mechanically or the way that they did like implement the storytelling, or kind of specifically for Paleo, the survival elements that were either like a direct or kind of indirect inspiration for you?
I took the basic idea that you have a deck of cards and they have actions on them, and you pay for these actions with other cards. I took this from this war of mine. They have it like in the night phase. You can walk to different locations and reveal cards there. But when you move further, you lose cards on the way. And yeah, and I thought that's pretty cool. But that's just a side game here. And this could be a main game with much simpler actions, like just pay 2 cards for 1 resource, or not, just don't, and look at the next card, and then see what people come up with, what I could do with it, but make it really simple actions, and that's kind of where the journey started.
Yeah, really cool. I'm familiar with this War of Mine, both the video game and the board game. I actually played one of the video games for like 10 minutes, and then I don't know, I just stopped. But I know that it is a pretty both profound world and striking presentation of that survival too. But I also know that like one of the things that people and me really like about your game and the card play is that the bit where, I mean, okay, you get the 3 cards, you see their back, and then you don't know the front, and you kind of have to do some probability, be like, there's a good chance that this is good, or there's a really good chance that this is bad, and I just kind of doing that risk management. But I don't know, that was just a thought. That wasn't really a question. So I guess
I hope this is kind of my idea. This came in very, very late. Like the game was already signed and we were working on it for 1 year at the publisher. They just wanted to give players more control. The backsides were all the same in the prototype. Like every danger, every resource, every way to score victory points, it was all the same back. And it was really more of a push your luck game. You knew there were dangers out there, you knew there were rewards, but you just played on and looked what you found. And then we came up with this idea to show like, okay, here's wood on the background, on the backside, so you will find things related to the forest, at least, so you have at least a little side information now. And this also helped a lot with balancing, because now we could have dangerous stuff that doesn't surprise kill you, but you know what you're getting into. So yeah, it makes the game a lot less swingy, and we kind of stick with it, and it worked flawlessly.
I truly, that's super interesting that it did come in so late. I mean, I think, like you said at the beginning of that, like hopefully that comes through. But I think what it also does is creates like mini scenes in your head too. So you're exploring. It's like, do I want to go check out like more wooded area? Do I want to explore a camp area? Do I want to check out like the mountains? And then especially if you have a partner or a teammate, and you're kind of together doing your own thing and working, and they encounter like a mammoth that they have no means of taking care of, or you can't help out with, and they're like, well, we'll leave you in the background over there. We'll come to the river with you and help you get resources there. It creates really fun and kind of like emergent scenes, which is really neat.
Yeah, that's kind of the two reasons this game exists. The first one is people talk. This game makes everybody open their mouth and talk about the game, but with in-game words. Like it all is so natural to do. Like, okay, help me hunt, and not I need 2 icons to get 3 cubes. Or players always talk in the theme when they play this game. And publishers that playtested it also did, so they really liked it. And the other thing is that I don't need to tell stories. Like, I don't have to write texts on cards. Both the theme and the mechanics kind of work easily together, and you understand that what the game wants from you very fast. So the story jumps at you without me writing it down.
Yeah, that's funny. When I reached out to you, I mentioned the emergent storytelling. That's what stuck out to me, and I mean, it's obvious. I mean, I think it would stick out to anybody. It wasn't like a discovery or anything. But you mentioned the games, and this isn't to say that games with pages of text or cards worth of text can't be effective, but I think within the context of your game, having just, well, honestly, like, would you say that obviously the rule book and the cards have titles, but it's a pretty language independent game for the most part?
Yeah, kind of. We didn't want to have icons for every obscure actions, so sometimes we use text.
Yeah.
Just say, draw 3 cards, look at them, put them back in any order. This comes up once in 100 games. I don't want you to learn an icon for it. But yes, there's most of the actions are fairly straightforward.
Yeah. So again, kind of like what you said, people then wind up talking in the language of the game. Help me hunt. Let's avoid this. Let's do this together. Everything like that. That's really fascinating. Are there any examples of you kind of like observing people playing your game that really like stuck out to you, just that brought you joy, seeing them experience the game the way you wanted it to be, and all those moments? Or is there, I mean, I'm sure there's plenty, but are there any that really stuck out to you in that way?
I always like it when I go to a con and see it on the table. I'm in a kind of professional board game club. Like, I pay money to be in there, and we have events there, and stuff. And the people there know that I'm in the club, but they play it not for me. They play it because they like the game, and they always like when I see it on the table. And other than that, of course, there were some really great reviews. Space that Biff wrote an amazing review about the game. he completely understood what I wanted to do with the game or to achieve with the design. It was crazy. I also liked the shut up and sit down one, even though it was a bit controversial in the end, but I really liked it. And I think they also liked the game very much. Yeah.
I think, yeah, I think, you know, everything that you said that you tried to capture in the way that, you know, Dan in his review wound up playing or seeing the game that the way you want it to see it. I think that's obviously kind of universal for the most part. I mean, not everybody's going to like everything, but you know, it was very critically acclaimed. You won the Kennerspiel, and I hope that if, you know, I hope gamers entering the hobby and are looking for something that is cooperative and different. I think it is unique, very unique, can get directed to your game, so those moments and those stories can just keep going on.
It's not exactly the most beginner-friendly game, though. We have plenty of feedback and reviews from people who absolutely hated it, but they were like only playing the simplest Uno or stuff like this, the simplest games possible before. So I'm sorry, we have 20 pages of rules for a reason.
Indeed, it's definitely, it's a step up for, you know, if you're gonna tell a family like, hey, you want to do a fun family experience, it's a bit of a jump. But I honestly, the last time that I was revisiting the game, and I've played a lot of games too, so I mean, I think that does change my experience a little bit. I, you know, followed the rules to do the setup, and then I just looked at the one page that shows the example turn.
Okay.
And
yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, I'm back in it. No worries. So
Well, will do.
that this will work. And if, you know, anything else I need to reference, I can. And again, that's coming from a different perspective. That's me understanding different game mechanics more than, you know, people coming from Uno or Yahtzee, whatever. But well, nonetheless, I mean,
Yahtzee.
Yeah.
Yahtzee was the example I was looking for. It has a completely different name in German, so I always forget it.
What's the name of it in German?
It's the one where you go in a circle and kick each other out, right? Or what is Yahtzee?
Yahtzee is where you roll six dice, I think, and or five, and you try to get either like a run of 5 or a full house. Or...
Okay, yeah, that's Kniffel.
Okay.
And what do I mean? That doesn't matter.
Well, you'll think of it. I'll make email me when you let me know what you think of it. But yeah, like I said, you know, the storytelling to me, and this isn't going to be spoilery for potentially anybody getting introduced to the game, but I think that the secrets for the different scenarios are a nice touch, and you know, they're crafted moments. You know, there are things where like if you do X, then Y is going to happen, but when that Y happens, it's like, oh, that makes sense.
And the game is a lot of random on top of random, or so we can never guarantee that you find cards in a specific order. So we needed a system like this. The only way to have real consequence or to have one card followed by another was to say, okay, now you take another deck of cards and reveal card number 17, please. There are whole games that only work like this, like these old adventure books where you're running around in dungeons, and if you want to turn left, then read at page 233. It's kind of what this is, but we just needed this element to have surprises in the game.
kind of like little snapshots
Yeah.
through all the other adventures and ways that the cards. I don't know. I'm just, like I said, game is super interesting to me, and I talked to you well in our initial correspondence that I've played the game by myself, which is how I play most of my games, to be fair. But I really think that my wife would be interested in this one from like a thematic standpoint too, which she just wants to beat me in every game we play, so we don't touch many cooperative games. I think a bit back we played one little tutorial for mechs versus minions, and she's like, "Oh, I like that." And then ever since we've just been playing competitive games where she beats me. So I guess that's what it is. But no, I'll definitely keep nudging. I won't push. I'll nudge. Okay, I just got a couple kind of final questions for you. This might be a little bit dated. So I was on your Board Game Geek profile page and looking at your little micro badges. You said that you like to have a drink when you play some games. Do you have a drink of choice, or is that no longer?
It's usually beer. That's also depicted in the micro badge.
Yes, that is the drink in the micro badge.
That's from university times. We had always these gaming nights, and there was a lot of beer, empty beer bottles empty at the end of the evening.
That's funny. I think people probably think Germany, and they think beer as a drink of choice. Is a particular beer that, like, either from university experience or now that stands out to you as your beer of choice?
You will probably not know the brand.
I'll look it up.
Okay, it's Augustiner. It's from Bavaria. That's my favorite one. I don't live there. I live in Cologne. That's the other side of Germany, but that's just the best beer in Germany.
All right. Well, once I go to Germany, which I have to do. I mean, I got to travel more. I will wind up having the best beer in Germany. Okay, and a wrap-up question, and this is something we kind of talked about, well, movie representation of archaeologists a bit, but the one thing that I want to wrap up for any guest is just having you talk about anything that you've been, reading, watching, listening to, just watched, consumed in any way that's kind of like stuck out to you as like a meaningful media experience.
Well, I recently finished reading the trilogy. It starts with Three Body Problem, and then Dark Forest, and then I don't know what it's called in English. It's from a Chinese author, and it's about an incoming alien invasion. But because space is so big, they take like 400 years to get to Earth, the aliens, and then he shows how Earth reacts to this threat that's looming in the background. Like, they are hopeful that, okay, I will be dead before they arrive, so I don't care. But governments try to build armies to fight the aliens and everything. And it was really interesting how humanity as a whole deals with this problem. And then in later books, how they deal with it once the aliens arrive.
That's great. What did you say the first book in that series was?
It should be called Three Body Problem. That's a direct translation of the German title.
Yep. Yeah. No. Perfect. Three Body Problem by I've already mispronounced too many things. I'm not going to try to pronounce the authors.
It was. Cannot see it from here. Sijin Yan or something like this.
Yeah. Yep. Oh no, that I think the last couple people I talked to, I've got a book recommendation, so I just go onto Goodreads and then I add it to the want to read, and I do. And that's kind of, yeah, one of the things that I want to do with this is just get exposed to different books, different things that people are interested in. And from the last one, and I'm actually like trying to be active in the pursuit of doing this. I was recommended the video game Pentiment. Are you familiar with that one?
No.
Okay. It's I kind of late medieval scribes. I'm probably butchering the premise, but the artists who work in drawing in the margins of like religious texts and things like that. It's, again, that's me butchering the premise really bad because I don't have the language to actually describe it, but I've dabbled so far and it's interesting. I just haven't played too many video games lately. Cool. But yeah, Three Body Problem is getting added to the list. But
all right.
All right. Well, we mentioned that, kind of on a little pause from the gaming world a little bit, but there, at the very least, might be a design coming out from you in the next couple of years. So hopefully, well, now, hopefully things go well there. And, anybody that is a fan of, your work and Paleo has something to look forward to.
Yeah. And hopefully we make some more Paleo content too, because why not?
Yeah. A, why not? And B, I don't think anybody's going to complain.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed learning about you, your job, and then just also your design process and what it was that you tried to do with the game. And I really look forward to playing that more.
Thank you for getting up so early.
Hey, it is all good. It just had to shake off some of the cobwebs. So when I listen back, I'll have to make sure that my brain is actually functioning when I listen to my words. But who knows? It is done. And like a ton of really interesting insight from you. And I really look forward to listening back to this and hearing that again. So, well, thank you again. And I will be signing off now.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Intertextual Cardboard Experience. Feel free to reach out via email, which is vodthepod@gmail.com, or check out my Instagram with the same name. There's not much on there right now, but I'm looking forward to working on the Instagram and other forms of social media and a website a little bit more in the future. Until then, keep playing, watching, reading, listening, experiencing. Thank you.